Hi there. Welcome to Jami Jo Sells Wax here on YouTube. Now, if you clicked on this video, chances are you are thinking about starting a side hustle. Maybe you have something in mind. Maybe you're just tossing around the idea of bringing in a little extra cash, but that is exactly what we are going to talk about today. I have 5 things that I really think you need to consider before starting a side hustle. Now, before we jump into the content, let me introduce myself. Hi there, my name is Jami Jo, and I am a Scentsy consultant. I've had a partnership with Scentsy Fragrance for over 15 years now. I started with them all the way back in 2008. But let me tell you that they are not the only company or the only side hustle that I have had. I have worked with other companies, other direct sales companies, other multi-level marketing companies, but also I have had a couple other side hustles that were solely my own. I've had a sewing business, I've had a resale business. So I've had several side hustles in my life, and I think that kind of makes me somewhat of an expert on this topic. Now, I do still currently have a partnership with Scentsy Fragrance. That is the one side hustle turned full-time gig that I have had for the longest, like I said, for 15 years. But that doesn't mean that it's perfect for you. Let's go through some of the things that you should consider so you can make an educated decision as to what the best side hustle is for you and if a side hustle really even is the best idea for you. So the very first thing that you want to consider when looking at a side hustle is, what do you love? What are you passionate about? What are you always talking about? What are you always having those conversations with your friends about? Or what things do you absolutely love? For some people, it's fashion. Some people, it's jewelry. Some people, it's food or eating out. Some people, it's travel. That's one of mine. Some people, it's fragrance. Obviously, that is one of mine. So that's one of the reasons that I love Scentsy is fragrance, not just the smell of things, but the atmosphere created with fragrance. I absolutely loved that. When I started as a Scentsy customer, I was a teacher full-time, and I loved that a good fragrance in my classroom just brought my mood up, but also I noticed that it would change the mood of the kids in my classroom. So that's why I initially fell in love with Scentsy Fragrance. And for many reasons, I've decided to stay, but one of those reasons is travel. I told you I'm passionate about travel. I absolutely love to travel the world. And Scentsy has afforded me that opportunity in a couple different ways. They've afforded me that opportunity because they allowed me to step away from the classroom and replace that salary so I'm not tied into the traditional work schedule. But also, Scentsy rewards hard work with free travel. Some companies do cars, some do jewelry. Scentsy gives gifts trips to people that work really hard. So that's why I've stuck with Scentsy. But what are you passionate about? What do you love to do? So the next thing that you should really consider is, how much time do you have? So if you are looking at a completely, totally you side hustle, do you have time to make items? Do you have time to shop for supplies? Do you have time to do the research on pricing? Do you have the time to market the items yourself? There are so many things that play into a hands-on, I would say, side hustle. Are you making something? Are you reselling something? Anything on that level. Do you have the time commitment that takes? Or are you looking to just sell some items that you already love? That's one of the things I love about Scentsy. I don't have to worry about the manufacturing of the items. I don't have to worry about the headaches of, just all the things, keeping on top of trends, doing the marketing. the company, Scentsy Corporate, does all of that for me. All I have to worry about is sharing my love of the products with my friends, family, and customers. So to me, it is a smaller time commitment working with an existing company. The third thing that you should consider is startup. And I would say startup costs, but it's more than just startup costs. That is one aspect of it. Actually, this has several different things under it. Let's start by talking about cost. With Scentsy, the highest startup cost is going to be $99. That's the big deluxe super way awesome kit. But there are kits that are even a lower startup cost than that. A host exclusive kit is $59, and you can actually use host rewards towards that, making it as affordable as $0 out of your pocket. And Scentsy offers several different lower priced startup costs throughout the year in celebration of different occasions within the business. But that's great for Scentsy. If you're thinking about something else, you have to think about things like, if it's another company, what is the startup cost? But if you're looking to make something yourself, how much are those supplies going to cost you? How much time is it going to cost you to make enough product to start the business? There's just so much startup cost to be considered. If you're looking at baking something or making something, what is your kitchen cost going to be? So many different cost factors that come into play. So make sure you have considered all of those. You also have to think about taxes. Do you need an LLC or an S Corp, or can you just work as a sole proprietor? Those are all tax questions that you need to consider. If you're looking at jumping into a side hustle with Scentsy, you don't have to worry about all of that. You just have a side business, doing business as, or really legit. I mean, let's face it here. I am not a tax person. I pay someone to do my taxes, but I know for the for the longest time with my Scentsy business, I did not have to worry about any of that. I just kept track of how much money I had invested into my business, how much money I'd gotten paid. I gave that to my tax person. They figured it in. And I know for the longest time, it was really a great benefit to me at tax time to have that little side hustle, because it really was a loss for a while on paper. Now, we say a loss on paper because having a side hustle allows you to write off things that really you would have had otherwise, but they are necessary for your business. So you're going to get to write off your cell phone. You're going to get to write off your internet. If you need a new computer, you're going to get to write that off. So many things that can be a write-off in a side hustle that honestly you are using already and not able to write them off. So many tax things to consider. I would really encourage you, if you're looking at doing this legit big time, talking to a tax professional. And do you have any laws with what you're thinking about for your side hustle? This really comes in with regulations and stuff like that if you're thinking about food or anything like that. Thankfully with Scentsy, corporate has handled all of that and you don't have to worry about it. So what business model are you looking at? How much of yourself, your heart, your soul are you willing to invest? Or are you just looking to make a little side cash? Because if you're just looking to make a little side cash, Scentsy is the way to start. Now, that is the way to start, but I told you I was able to replace my full-time income with Scentsy, and that is a possibility. It's not going to happen overnight, but it is a possibility. Okay, so the fourth thing I want you to look at is how much money are you really going to make? That's a great question. We're talking about side hustles for the fact that we all need a little cash in our pocket right now. This economy is so up in the air. We don't know what's going to happen. So let's talk about legit money that you're going to make. If you are looking at doing your very own side hustle, you have to look at all those things I mentioned before: cost of items, time to make things, how much you're going to have to spend in marketing, all of these different things that are going to come off of your bottom line. So how much money are you really going to make by crocheting blankets or sewing items or baking things? How much money are you really going to make? With Scentsy, you don't have to worry about any of that. Your startup cost is really all that you need. We do have a website fee of $15 a month that you need to consider, but it's free for your first 3 months. I promise you, I sell way more online to cover that $15 expense of online. So just look at your expenses. What are you really going to make? Now, compensation plan. Let's talk about that. I have another complete full video on the compensation plan with Scentsy, but here are the nitty-gritties of it. When you first sign up, you're going to make 20% of all your sales. Once you sell $1,000, doesn't matter if it's in 1 week, 1 month, or 1 year. Once you sell $1,000, you get a 5% increase in commission, making it 25%. Once you sell $2,000, I say dollars, really it's personal retail volume, PRV. Once you hit 2,000 PRV in a single month, you get a 5% bonus for that month. And that can happen every single month if you are consistently selling 2,000 PRV. Then you also have things like startup incentives. So that is a great thing when you're looking at joining Scentsy or any company like Scentsy. Many of them have startup incentives. Scentsy, of course, does. We have a startup incentive for your first 15 days called the Shooting Star. That's if you get 500 PRV in your first 15 days. Did you know? Probably not if you're watching this video, but if you earn the Shooting Star Award, you are 5 times more likely to become a director within Scentsy, which is our first level of leadership within the company. The next startup incentive is for your first 70 days. It is called the Sensational Start. It is a leveled program. It has 3 different levels based on sales and building a team or bringing people on to join you in the fun of Scentsy. And that, what would I say? I mean, it's a statistic, but the multiplication of your possibility of becoming director, you're actually 12 times more likely to become a director with Scentsy if you earn a level in Sensational Start. So great opportunities for you when you are rocking your business right out the gate. Now, the last thing I want to round this out with, the 5th thing I want you to consider before starting a side hustle is either your sponsor or your mentor. Depending on what type of side hustle you're choosing, that word can be different or that role can be different. Within Scentsy, you would be looking to choose a sponsor. Now, a lot of people just join under their cousin, their sister, whatever, to help them out in their business, and that's all good and fine. But if you really want to find success with your side hustle, choosing a sponsor is a very important thing to do. You need to make sure that your sponsor knows what they're talking about, or their upline above them knows what they're talking about, so they can help you in growing your side hustle. You need to know how long they've been doing this. You need to know, do they know the ins and the outs of the business? You need to know, do they offer training or growth opportunities like training calls or in-person training opportunities? There are a lot of things to consider when looking at a sponsor, so don't gloss over that when you're looking to start a side hustle. Guys, this is a lot to consider. I've given you a lot of things that you need to think about before starting a side hustle. If you are ready to jump in, you're like, Jamie, I get it. You know what you're doing. You found success. I want to do what you're doing. Go to JamiJoSellsWax.com and click on the button in the top right corner that says Getting Started or Get Started. If you have more questions, more specific questions, feel free to put them in the comments of this video or shoot me a text at 918-888-9690. I know there's a lot to consider before jumping on board, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. So just reach out to me. I'm happy to have that conversation with you. Guys, my name is Jami Jo, and I hope that you found some great information here, and I hope that you have a sensational day. Our government likes people to look for jobs and not opportunities. Therefore, I'm required to tell you that results are not typical. Now, let's take a second to look at what the word typical means. The definition of typical is usual, ordinary, or average. No, these results are not average. But if you're willing to put in some work and take a chance on yourself, These results are possible. I'm here to prove it to you. It happened to me and it can happen to you. Check out this document for all the details.